Go to your settings on your computer and turn up your input volume.
Okay, it's working. Okay. Okay. That's okay. So this is going to be a mock counseling session. I will need you to come up with like a scenario for me to use to practice for my CNL 515 class. So right now I will be going over with you the counseling informed consent form, and then I'm going to need you to initial and print your name and everything. As part of the counseling programs at Grand Canyon University, GCU, students are required to complete mock counseling recorded sessions. In mock counseling sessions, volunteers and students are required to use fixations, role plays, and avoid real to life scenarios. Review of sessions and feedback will help the students grow in the depth of counseling knowledge and directions. Volunteer, please complete this form as indicated below. Please read, mark, make sure you understand and initial each section where indicated. At the end of the form, you will need to add your electronic signature and the date. Note to counseling students, please obtain a completed form from the volunteer for each mock counseling session and submit the form as directed. Okay, I will need you to state your name. I,
Samantha Hall,
understand and agree to each of the following statements.
understand and agree to each of the following statements.
I'll read them, and then after I read them, you can sign it and everything.
Okay.
I consent to video/audio recordings being made of mock counseling sessions and to these recordings being used to aid in the growth of counseling knowledge and skills. I consent to the expert from these recordings or descriptions of them being used by the Grand Canyon University faculty and staff for the purpose of supervision, research, and or teaching. I understand that any part of a conversation that is recorded and or written down will be kept confidential. I will not disclose any information that may identify me in the mock counseling session recording. The information given will be fictional and I will use an alias. I understand that Zoom will be used to record counseling sessions and that Zoom meets both HIPAA and FERPA confidentiality standards. I understand that if the recording of mock counseling session activates any suicidal ideation or other potential harmful thoughts, I will reach out to a professional in my area immediately. Neither GCU, the college, nor the counseling center will be held accountable if I harm myself. By signing below, I attest that I have read, understand, and agree to the statements above as indicated for the mock counseling recording sessions as required in the counseling programs. The checkbox next to your printed name consists of your electronic signature. So just sign and everything. Okay. So the purpose of this mock session is for me to learn how to better assist my clients and how to read body language. And the role of me is to get to know my clients better, and your role is to better assist for me to learn how to assist you. So okay, this is going to take about 10-15 minutes. So okay.
So kind of like know what to say
Okay.
because it doesn't. It's fiction and avoid real to life scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
Really don't know.
What is something that you have? So what do you want to talk about? Like, what do you want to talk about? Like, what has happened that you have, what is something that's happened, but use it fictionally, like what has caused trauma of someone around you that you can use fictionally.
Yeah, sure, this is the only trauma thing, like a fictional thing, the only thing I can think of. I don't know that it can be turned fictional, honestly, other than having depression.
Okay, let's talk about depression.
Okay.
Fictionally, like depression.
My voice. I'd say I'm really depressed come like midterms
Okay,
and assignments, especially when I don't like manage my time well.
okay,
I get very anxious and have too much to do and get very depressed after.
okay,
Makes me so anxious, and then I just can't do anything in general.
okay. How could you manage your time better around your midterms and assignments?
Start scheduling things out
Okay,
and stick to the schedule.
okay. How would you go about using a schedule? Like, would you use a planner? Would you just write it all down like in your phone, on a calendar, or?
I try to use my planner, but I never look back at it after I write everything down.
Okay,
That's my big problem. And then another thing would be that I do list everything out and then kind of prioritize, but
okay,
then I forget where I put my list.
okay. So how do you become depressed after midterms? Like, what causes you to be depressed, like after your midterms and your assignments?
Like my grades and that, like I should have done more like for myself. I should have taken time out, started earlier and not waited till the last second.
Okay,
And get stressed out.
okay, how could you? Trying to think how to word this. How could you go about not waiting till the last second to complete assignments and stuff?
Starting early.
Okay. Do you think maybe starting, say you was given an assignment 2 weeks ago, do you think if you started the day you was given it, it would help with the depression in the last minute?
Yeah,
Okay,
it would.
okay. Have you thought about maybe teaming up with someone in your class or something about figuring out ways to complete the assignments if the assignments are causing issues?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so that's one thing you could do. So like maybe you could team up with someone else in your class and be like, hey, like, of course, we're not going to get the same answers, of course, because that'd be cheating.
Mhm.
So you could just sit down and be like, hey, can we work together on assignment because I'm a little stuck on it. Have you thought about asking your professors as well too?
No.
Okay, you can always ask your professors, like even if one of the professors seems a little unfriendly, always ask them because that's the purpose of them to be there. Do you have any, you could possibly, like with you saying like how with your depression, you could always possibly get an ESA animal as well too. Have you thought about maybe getting an ESA animal or have an animal that you could?
I've thought about it, yes.
Okay, what for animal would you possibly get?
Hamster.
Okay, what would you name your hamster?
Paul.
Why would you name him Paul?
Because hamsters look like fuzzy little balls when they're asleep. And Paul the ball. It rhymes.
Okay, I like that. I like that a lot. I think here, so you also mentioned that you get depressed about your grades after midterms. So is that the assignments in general afterwards or the after taking the tests? Or?
There's the grades in general. I feel like I should do better than I do.
Okay. Don't always be so hard on yourself. Like, granted, yes, it is hard not to be hard on yourself, but everyone has struggles. Grades can easily be brought up. You can always talk to your professors. That's a good thing. Have you thought about doing some studying time, like maybe into a low quiet area or something?
Yeah, I try.
Okay,
Sometimes, depending on the class.
okay. So what for classes could you possibly schedule out to do some class studying time in?
My science classes.
Okay, what for science classes are you taking?
taking physical science class.
Okay. Okay, so what do you learn in your physical science class that could possibly cause your grades to?
They're
go
gonna
down a little bit?
learn like formulas and not remembering the formulas and how to do them, mixing them up and stuff.
Okay, maybe you could, I don't know, maybe get a little whiteboard and just write down the formulas, make up a little fun song or something and try to help you remember those formulas.
They're easily mixed up though is the issue.
Okay, okay. How could you go about not mixing up your formulas maybe?
And I guess take more time out, like practice each one individually.
Okay. Have you talked to your professor about the formulas to see how to maybe go about?
No,
Okay. If you don't mind me asking, who's your professor for that class?
Professor Baker.
Okay. That's an interesting name, very interesting name, especially for a science class.
It is.
So what else is causing your depression?
Just self-esteem and overthinking as well.
Okay, what are you overthinking about?
Generally anything.
Okay. Do you think maybe your overthinking is what's causing your, maybe could have some leeway on why your grades could be slipping after midterms?
Could be, yeah.
Okay, so some things you could probably do for like your overthinking is, yes, overthinking is hard to stop, but you could always just write down maybe what you're overthinking about and then kind of just like crumble up and throw it away. That way you're just throwing away the overthinking. And granted, sometimes that could help, but sometimes it couldn't. Overthinking is very hard to stop. But if you, maybe overthinking could be one of the things that could cause depression with your grades. Because you're overthinking like, oh my gosh, like, am I going to get this going and everything? With your self-esteem, you mentioned that. How does that cause your depression? Does people like fun of you, people call you names or anything?
No, it's just I just overthink myself and like I'm hard on myself.
Okay, okay, it is very, like, we are hard on ourselves, so maybe just take a couple deep breaths and just be like, okay, just write down, like, maybe not write down your flaws, but like, okay, like, what are you so hard on yourself about? You could be hard on yourself about your, like you said, your grades, like you should have better grades. Write down how to go about getting better grades and be like, just do step by step on how to do that. So like for your physical science class, write down your homework and then when they're due, and then put, oh, so chapter 1 is due February 3rd. Then you can put how you want to go about completing chapter 1. Then maybe just do that, and that could help with not only your grades, but also the little things as well too. Like you can do it for your self-esteem stuff too. Have you got any questions for me, Barb? No sessions? Okay, well, thank you so much. And like I said in our consent form, this is going to be uploaded for not only for me, but for my professors and fellow faculty members at Grand Canyon University. Thank you.